Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your girl, Indian Queen, and welcome back to our channel. Yo, guys! First off, it's raining like a mother hubbard in the UK. So I've just been to the gym, done a workout, had a shower, now I'm lounging to be comfortable and warm. So, without further ado, I just want to say, today I wanted to react to how Eminem really makes music, because for years, I'm not gonna lie, I've tried to understand this man's mind. Yo, I don't think anyone can understand Eminem's mind. I swear to God, I think he's an alien, because the way he thinks, processes things, puts words together is truly out of this world. Like, I've heard a lot of rappers, I've heard a lot of music. With Eminem, he's just so unique from everybody else. He's just so different. And you can't figure this man's mind out. So I decided I'm going to try and react to and do a bit of research on him, because I know without a doubt, if there's something that I don't know, I know you guys are going to help me out 100%. If I always ask you, and you always tell me what I need to know, tell me things I don't know. I appreciate that about you guys. Yo, so without further ado, just drink some Coca-Cola. I'm addicted to fizzy drinks, to pop. Not even to pop, to Coca-Cola. And I've just been to the gym. Yo, you know what your girl is about to say? Let's do this shit together. I want to understand this. Yo, let's go.
There's no way to put it other than to say that Eminem is one of the most successful artists in music history. His album sales, Billboard hits, and accolades speak for themselves.
You know, obviously Eminem is the biggest rapper of all time, statistically.
But this video isn't about the numbers. It's about the magic that goes into creating them. This video is about the studio. Marshall Mathers is one of the most technical rappers to ever touch the mic. His rhyme structure and flow are hard to match, and say what you want about M, but his bars have been top tier for almost 3 decades.
At the Ozfest with Nas, bumping dots effects and erect up dots and then drop 2 extra strength watts and Vicodin out my pocket. They cost less, I'm a hot mess cause I tripped and got my head stuck in a wasp nest in the process, awesome.
There are few people.
Just listening to that, how does he even think of saying that shit alone? Because a regular person, it will take them a lifetime to try and come up with things that M says. And even not even in a lifetime can you think of the shit that man says.
Nas, bumping dots effects and erect up dots and then drop 2 extra strength watts and Vicodin out my pocket. They cost less, I'm a hot mess cause I tripped and got my head stuck in a wasp nest in the process, awesome.
There are few people who take their craft as seriously as M does. If 10,000 hours is the mark for mastery, this man could teach a masterclass on rhyming. In this video, we're gonna take a look at what it's really like to work with Eminem in the studio, from his writing process to how he collaborates, straight from the mouths of artists like Kendrick Lamar, Jay-Z, Nicki Minaj, 50 Cent, and more. The first thing to know about Eminem's process is that he treats rap like a job. Writing rhymes, it's like a 9 to 5 to him. No, literally. M will clock in at 9 a.m. and leave at 5 p.m. like he's working your average day job. Just listen to Akon talk about working with Eminem on their 2000s classic, Smack That.
Working with him made me look at the business different, because he was the first artist that I worked with that actually treated the business like a real job. Like, he comes in at 9 a.m. every day to the studio, takes his lunch break at 1, and is out of there by 5 p.m. Like, it's like a schedule. And I didn't expect that from him. Because when the first day I came around 6. I'm expecting, okay, we're gonna do an evening session. I get this studio, oh, M just left. I was like, yo, M, where you at? He said, I'm out of here. I said, well, I'm at the studio, I just got here. You coming back? He said, I'll be back there at 9 a.m. So
I'll see you tomorrow.
M was not playing. I think Akon learned from that moment. When M says come to the studio at 9 a.m. or come at a certain time, you must be there at a certain time. Literally, he treats it like a job, but a job that he enjoys. And that's great to hear, because that's also motivation for myself and many other people. Do what you enjoy doing. treat it like a 9 to 5. It's better to treat what you love doing as a 9 to 5 than doing something you dislike doing as a 9 to 5. And that's motivation for me. I love hearing
Tomorrow.
this.
Yeah,
I'm clocked out. I'm done.
Yeah, like literally, I'm clocked out. Like I feel like you joking, right? He said, no, I'm serious. I see you at 9. You gonna get up early? I said, yeah, I gotta be there. So I get there at 9, and he shows up on time. Plays some beats, we robbing, we rocking. So I'm in the middle of writing the record. He's like, yo, I'm about to go out for lunch. I said, all right, cool, I'm gonna meet you after. He said, you're not gonna take no lunch? I said, no, I'm not hungry, I'm just gonna work. He said, all right, cool. He goes, takes lunch. Hour come back, he's back. What we got? I play him the record, play him the chorus. He said, oh, this is it. Boom. He goes into his verse. 5 o'clock come. He's halfway in. He's like, all right, bro, I'm gonna see you tomorrow. So at this point, I'm like, yo, but your verse almost done. You ain't gonna finish it? No, I'll finish it tomorrow.
And it seems like
Wow. So M was halfway through his verse, 5 o'clock comes and he says, I'll see you tomorrow. Yo, that just shows because his work ethic. I've heard a lot of people say about Eminem's work ethic, saying that he works. I can believe that as well.
it seems like he doesn't do much else besides rap. Here's 50 joking about how dedicated M is to his work.
M is a lab rat. I don't know if you know this, but you don't see him unless he's scheduled to be somewhere. Other than that, he's probably writing something new now.
But while he's in the studio, he does a lot more than just work on his bars. M is involved in every part of the process of music making. Just Blaze even recalls M tweaking his own vocals.
M is there when you're making the beat sometimes. He's there when you're mixing. He's there tweaking and mixing his own vocals. He has like dog hearing, so he'll be like, turn this up a half a dB, turn the bass up like a quarter dB at this frequency. Like he's very much of a scientist with it. Where Jay is just more so like, sounds good, all right, cool now.
He cares about every aspect of the song from an
Wow. He really is a perfectionist. Like, I know Eminem's his own biggest critic. He'll sit there listening to his shit a trillion times to make sure it sounds perfect before we get to hear it. That's how much he cares about his craft.
the song, from an internal rhyme pattern to a sound effect. When I spoke to Scott Storch, he told the story of M spending so much time creating sound effects that Dr. Dre had to tell him to stop.
I remember a time where he was going crazy with the sound effects and just going super obsessive, and he just could not let go of this album and turn it in. And Trey was like, all right, enough of the sound effects. Like, you got enough, but the shit's done.
Although writing may not be the only thing Eminem is concerned with in the studio, it's definitely the spark for all of the rest of his inspiration.
My mind, 24/7, aside from family stuff, obviously, is constantly thinking of ways to bend words, or I may, like, if I don't got paper, I'll write it on my hand or whatever. And sometimes when I fill up the hand, then I'll transfer it to paper.
It seems like all Eminem thinks about is rhyming words together, and writing it all down helps him clear his thoughts.
I consider myself day to day an average person, like, pretty normal. My thoughts when I write, thoughts up in my head, things that I think of. I think everybody else thinks a lot of this shit I think of too, they just don't say it. And my thing.
No. You are not normal. You are not average like everybody else. Hell no. Yo, let's go.
Normal. My thoughts when I write, thoughts up in my head, things that I think of. I think everybody else thinks a lot of this shit I think of too, they just don't say it. And my thing is I just say it.
What I love about rap is that it feels like it's puzzles to me. Like, words are like puzzles, and trying to figure out a puzzle and trying to figure out what word can go here and how many words can I make. Like, if I can take a rhyme, like, I'm real into the craft, like, just of the, MCing, and I feel like I always think, like, how can I figure this puzzle out? Like, how can I take words and put them at the end of the sentence, but in between maybe make some words rhyme in between that rhyme, and like sandwich them. You know what I'm saying? Like, so sandwich those words and try to make them rhyme inside of the phrase, and then come back outside and try to rhyme with the word that I ended on the snare.
Rihanna talked about working with
Wow. The best way I can try and describe what I think M's brain's like, and people might not agree with this, but like, you have that psychic medium, Tyler Henry, And I say this because the other day I watched a documentary of Tyler Henry. And the guy is sitting there and he's scribbling, right? He's scribbling to get this reading or whatever through from the other side. But he's scribbling and it's like everyone is coming through, like in his mind, so many things are coming through at one time that he's trying to separate everything, like put it in order, and then he delivers the message that he's trying to deliver to you, but he's scribbling, right? It reminds me kind of like M's mind. He sits there and he has, like he was saying, he's trying to figure out how to bend words. It's like a puzzle to him. This shit is crazy. Like, if you think about it, it is really crazy. The way he even is trying to even explain what it's like. But I guarantee him even trying to explain it isn't really him explaining it, if that makes sense. Now I'm sounding fucking crazy, but you know, and his mind, like he's saying this puzzle, I'm saying, M can say some bars, right? And you can sit there and think, oh, that shit is clever. Like, how come I didn't think of even saying some shit? For an example, King Crooked said the same thing. He said, I was thinking, how come I didn't come up with that? But you came up with it first. But even if he had to sit there and think, he probably still wouldn't come up with it, because it's, even though it sounds so simple, it was smart in the way it was delivered. His thought process is, I don't even know how to explain this shit.
Anna talked about working with M on Love the Way You Lie Part 2, and she describes the amount of ideas that Marshall has on a daily basis.
He has so much in his mind that I almost feel lucky for him that he has music. I feel like he has so much in his head that music is such a great release for him. He's one of my favorite artists.
It's almost like if he didn't write things down, he'll lose out on classic bars.
Like, I'm not good at keeping thoughts. I get scatterbrained sometimes, and I might try to remember, like, what was I thinking of earlier? And I won't remember it, so I gotta write it down. So I write my rhymes on anything.
A lot of rappers like Hove and Wayne gave up on using a pen and pad early.
I can't explain it. But when M talked about the pen and paper, like, it's something really special.
A pen and pad early in their careers. But here's why Eminem says the notebook is still such a crucial part of his process.
Something about, for me, I can keep ideas on my phone too, but something about the pen and paper to me is better, just because I can look at all my ideas and I can see them at once. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't feel like, oh man, what was that thing I said that one day? Shit. And scroll, oh fuck. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're sitting there for 2 hours. Oh, what was that? Wait, I remember the phrase, but what I used to rhyme with it. For me, I remember which side of the page it's on.
Not only does he...
Wow, I knew it! I knew it! I didn't even know M writes notes in his phone, to be honest, but he says he does write notes in his phone, but it's paper for him, because he can see. It's like a map, you can see everything and where it's laid out. Yeah, it's something special about pen and paper, I'm telling you.
He memorized his own lyrics, but when I spoke to Yellow Wolf, he said that M rapped him back lyrics from one of his songs, word for word.
And then when I heard him recite that, I was just floored, man, that someone of that caliber would take the time to memorize. Or you know what? Knowing him, he probably just listened to it once.
He probably did as well. Imagine M coming up to you, rapping your shit to you. Bitch, I would have collapsed, fainted, straight on the floor, like, no, I'll be gone. Yo, let's go.
And it seems like M takes inspiration from all over the place. 2 Chainz talked about his experience working with Marshall, and apparently this one thing was giving him anxiety.
So M telling me like he listens to Kendrick and he listens to me, telling me like you know, like he telling me like the Kendrick, what he likes about Kendrick, and he's telling me like basically like a lot of my metaphors give him anxiety. Like he be like, he never know what I'm gonna say. Like, I don't never know, man. You give me fucking anxiety with this. I'm like, man, it's really an honor. But you saying this, you know what I'm saying? Because you know we know where you are as far as the food chain.
Wow, so he knows who he is as far as the food chain. Thing I love about Eminem, he gives people their props.
Very hyper critical of detail, and hears the music in a very deep way, and hears internal rhythms in track and writes words to work on so many different levels rhythmically within what's going on musically, to where if we change a little thing in the track to better the track, it might not work in his mind how it relates to what he's saying and how he's phrasing. He's phrasing so glued to the music and written that way, like just sees it as not just riding the flow. It's much more commercial stuff.
The thing about Eminem is that he's never afraid to show his respect publicly to those he admires. Until I Collapse, M had the classic bars about his standing within the game as he showed love to some of the greatest. And when I spoke to Jadakiss about his mention on the song, he seemed grateful to be put amongst the pack of GOATs by someone of Eminem's stature.
Until I Collapse, he listed you in that list of like Reggie, Jay-Z, Tupac, and Biggie, Andre from Outkast, Jada, Corrupt, Nas, and then me. Like, when you hear a song like that, do you remember where you were when you heard that bar?
I was somewhere in the galaxy, but you know, it's a beautiful thing. Like when your colleagues and dudes like M mention you in songs like that on that kind of level, you appreciate it, you know? And that's what you do it for.
But even though he is held in such high regard when it comes to his rhyming, M actually isn't afraid to take criticism either. Here's The Game talking about Eminem asking for his feedback on a verse for their collab off the documentary.
I want to just quickly go back to your conversation with M about those verses. What was the back and forth about?
It wasn't back and forth. Eminem was just, he was more concerned about it being my record. He wanted it to be structured the way I wanted it, and he wanted to make sure that, Eminem asked me what I thought about his verse. That was crazy.
What'd you say?
I mean, I said what the fuck I was supposed to say. Even if it was fucking whack, I was gonna say like, yeah, it's fucking classic. But it's M, and it's like, why are you asking me how I feel about the verse?
But even listen.
See, I seen that interview clip of Game saying that. If I was Eminem, like what he said, M was trying to make sure that it's how he wanted it to be. It was his album, so M was working on his album. So I would ask the person, what do you think of it? Because you're respecting the artist's album, you're working on it, you're doing something on it. So you're basically just asking them, do they like what you're doing for their album? Just being respectful, as I would take it.
Even listen to the way Game worded that. He said, of course he was gonna tell Eminem that his verse was fire. Imagine the pressure of being honest with Eminem, even if you did think his bars were ever not on point. Just Blaze recalled a story where he did just that, and here's what Marshall's reaction was.
A lot of times I can say to certain people, yo, just do that verse over, or you're a little offbeat, or your second verse is kind of weak, and they don't think anything of it because we had that rapport. So when my first day or my second day of working with M on Recovery, we're doing this one song, and I just kind of said to him, like, yo, your second verse, you kind of went off course a little bit, subject matter wise, and your third verse, your flow's a little off. I just left it at that. I didn't think anything of it. And he was facing away from me. He was, he's facing, I'm talking to him from behind. He just turns around and he's like, I don't hear that, dog.
You could probably picture M turn around and say that, but I guarantee Eminem thought about that. I don't think Eminem can't take criticism, because Eminem's been taking criticism for his whole career. I think he can take criticism. He'd probably think about what you say and try and make improvements, because that's just the way the man is. But M turned around and said, I don't hear that, dog.
And I'm like, oh, I fucked the money up. I knew it was over. After that, I knew it was over. And then I tried to salvage it, and I'm like, well, no, what I mean is, in your second verse, you're not really talking about X, Y, and Z. And in your third verse, if you notice, the flow kind of diverts in a weird way. I was trying to clean it up, but it was a wrap. So about 3 hours later, I'm sitting in his lounge, waiting to probably be sent home. And one of his right hand people comes and hands me a phone. They're like, here. I'm like, who's it? They're like, it's Marshall. So I'm like, hey, what up? He's like, yo, you're a fucking alien. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, how did you hear that shit? And I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? And he's basically like, he's like, after you said what you said, I went home and listened to the song 30 times to try to understand what you were saying. And I eventually heard it, and I realized where, that I agree with you. So he's like, yo, thank you for that, because nobody has ever really coached me. From the second Dre found me, I was vocal producing everybody. So nobody's really ever gave me negative feedback. So I appreciate it.
It's not just M.
Wow. So M went back home and listened to it 30 times? Well, certain people have said things that have been not in a respectful way, why I can understand why M would feel pissed about the way people have been saying things, because it's coming from a negative place. But this guy was just keeping it 1,000 with M, and M appreciated it.
Just M feeling the pressure to perform. In fact, other rappers have said that being in the studio with Eminem makes them bring out their A game when it comes to the bars. Here's Tech9 talking about how Marshall brings out the competitive spirit in MCs within the studio.
I think he makes everybody want to come with their A game because he's an elite MC. We are also, you know what I'm saying? That's one of the qualifications you have to have for strange music, you know what I mean? I love extreme lyricists. And to me, he's the extreme lyricist when it comes to wordplay and all that, you know, the emotion and everything.
And there's this classic story about how Eminem tested Kendrick Lamar's writing ability in the studio when they first met, just to prove that he didn't have a ghostwriter.
He'd heard that Kendrick Lamar was the best rapper, and he invited him to the studio to get him on a song, and he arrived, and Kendrick came with all his mates. And Eminem said, I just want you in the studio, just you on your own. And then my engineer's going to come in and then record you doing it, but your mates aren't allowed in. And then Kendrick did it, wrote a sick verse, and then everyone came in to listen to it. And Eminem said he did it to test Kendrick because he thought he had a ghostwriter, and he then realized that he didn't, and then claimed that he was the best.
Plus, Eminem isn't afraid to give his honest feedback.
M's putting tests out here on Motherhoods. Yo, but Kendrick is sick. And then M gave him his props after he passed the test.
Either. Here's Nicki Minaj talking about how M replied to a song that he just didn't think was a good fit for him.
I didn't think it was gonna happen. I mean, I remember we kept talking about it, and I kept thinking, I really was saying in my head, I know it's not gonna happen, but you know, it doesn't hurt. So I sent him one record, and he didn't love it. And
did that hurt your feelings to have Eminem say
no, because he didn't say, you know, artists talk to artists differently. He didn't say I didn't love it, but he just said, could you send me something that's a little bit more me? So I understood that because I'm an artist, and I've had to say the same thing to people. So I remember I sent an email back and I said, you know, I want to thank him just for saying that, just for having enough respect. Because some people, like, you'll send them and you'll ask them, you know, if they would work with you, and sometimes they won't even respond or say anything. But like with M, he had the respect at least to treat me like a peer and say, you know what, I think it's dope, but I don't think it's me. And I just was like, I respect that so much.
But it's not just all seriousness in the studio with Eminem. Everyone who knows him describes him as someone who's always joking around.
And this is what I'm destined to be, and you don't understand it. It's bigger than you. It's bigger than me. It's bigger than everybody. It's the band, dude.
I don't have the rage anymore that I used to have, but I still have the exact same passion. Sometimes it doesn't always come out the right way. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's just like, oh, what the fuck is that? And then we'll take a pause, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, who are you? Like, I don't know who I'm competing with, but I just want to be. There's a lot of great rappers. There's a lot of great artists. There's a lot of great rappers coming up in this generation now that it's like, I'm watching it and I'm loving it, and just the competitive spirit in me wants to keep up with the best of the best.
Nicki Minaj even said that,
yo, I think M explained it the best. Like, he hasn't got the rage anymore, but he has the exact same passion. So when people say, well, we miss the old M, of course we all love the old M. We all love the old M. The things that he was saying, like the I don't give a fuck attitude, but he's matured since then. He hasn't got all that rage. But he said, like he said, he still has the exact same passion. But don't get it twisted. If you was to push Eminem, that's when Shady comes out. But I think his music is getting greater and greater and greater. And you can see the way he's involved. He hasn't lost anything except gained more. And his work and everything he's achieved speaks for itself, really.
Minaj even said that working with Eminem on Roman's Revenge was the most fun she ever had recording a song.
It gave me life, darling.
So you collaborated with M?
No, I collaborated with Slim Shady.
One of the few criticisms about Eminem's music over the past few years has been that he doesn't have anything to talk about anymore and is only just showing off how well he can rhyme.
But in my rapper brain,
I'm a content nigga. You gotta say something. You have not said anything for the better part of a whole fucking decade.
Joe Budden, anytime I hear this man speak, anytime I hear this man even speak about Eminem, he always just sounds like a hater. No joke, I'm keeping it 1,000. This man is just so negative, it's unbelievable.
But this clip of M talking about the difference between rapping and rhyming could put that into context.
One of the things that's happened to me over the years is rapping gets harder, but rhyming gets easier, if that makes any sense. Rhyming gets easier because when I think of a couple phrases or whatever it is, I think of so much shit that rhymes with it, you know, and connecting the syllables and all, doing all that, like, but by the time it's all said and done, is this different than anything I've done? But when I say rapping gets harder, is because the further along you get in your career, there's less places to go that you haven't been.
Overall,
wow. That shit just gave me goosebumps in what he said because it sounded so powerful. And I can get what he's trying to say. But I think for M is also like, is this something that he's already... M's so competitive, and it seems like he's always trying to outbeat himself, really. He is his only competition.
Overall, Eminem has left his mark on music whether or not he ever wants to drop another album. Although with his love for the craft, I don't know that there will ever be a day where Shady doesn't return. His influence runs deep though. In fact, some of the biggest stars of today, like Kendrick, Cole, and Big Sean, have all stated that Shady was a big influence on their career.
Eminem is, one of the greatest of all time. And nobody can take that from him. I can't take it. New artists can't take it. No, nothing. That boy wordplay is out of this world, excluding the fact of whatever racial color or hip-hop is hip-hop, and he got it.
From his first 3 albums, I was like all the way in. You know what I mean? I'm still all the way in because he's still amazing. But, that was a point in my life, a very pivotal point in my rap career, rap. My first song I ever made was literally just biting Eminem and Nas.
And his rhyming ability continues to amaze fans more than 20 years after he started out in the game. We may never see somebody come into the game and shake things up like Marshall Mathers did, but as hip-hop fans, we can only be thankful that we witnessed it.
Yo, I learned a few things there that I didn't really know before. But yeah, I'm excited to continuing by learning things that I never learned before. Just new things, because it helps me when I'm doing my reactions. It helps also put the puzzles together. Like I'm trying to put puzzles together in his mind, because then you have a better understanding of this man's music. And I know you guys already know, but yo, more reactions coming soon. Love you, girl, always. You're one.